Please sell something in this. That would be so funny. He's probably not going to, but it would be so funny if he were shilling. So like donate to us on Patreon, please.
Tell you, whoever hears my words and believes him who sent me has eternal life and will not be judged, but has crossed over from death to life. And that is the latest theme of our newest collection that's coming out next week. So be on the lookout for the Death to Life collection, available only
He's
Monday
shilling a product.
Sunday next week. Go to blessgod.shop.
That's
sign
amazing.
up on the email list so you don't miss the drop.
I love the Bible and God so much that I'm going to sell my shit with his writing on it. That's awesome. Oh, I can't believe I called that. That's so funny. So this is a video suggestion from the Discord. It is from Roman of Omen. If you would like to suggest videos on Discord, you can do so. All you need to do is join the Discord first, and then second, you post the video suggestion that you would like me to watch in the content suggestion channel. It's very easy to do, and it saves me a lot of work trying to find content, so I really appreciate it. It helps all of us. Anyway, this is the video that was suggested. Redeemed Zoomer gets LGTV affirming pastor to admit this. I've never heard LGTV before, but I'm assuming that it has something to do with like performative LGBT stuff. Like it's sort of a slur, kind of. I don't want to call it outright a slur, but it's like got the same energy to it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm assuming at least. So Redeemed Zoomer, for those who don't know, is this guy who did all atheist arguments answered in 10 minutes, which I've already reviewed, but let's go over just a little bit of it to give you an idea. As you can see here, he made himself the Giga Chad and you the Soy Jack. You Soy Jack, you. So therefore he wins. He wins.
Chain of all events in the universe, and it makes a lot more sense for that first cause to be a personal God who caused things for a reason, rather than some random impersonal force.
So you guys get the idea. He thought that he was being a genius. So I want to see this video called Redeemed Zoomer Gets LGTV Affirming Pastor to Admit This by Blessed God Studios. Let's take a look.
Zoomer had a fantastic conversation with a LGTV affirming pastor, and I think I wanted to show you guys one part and the way this entire thing kind of goes off the rails. Shout out to Redeemed Zoomer. He's not always on camera, but in this...
Is this him? Of course that's him. Honestly, the physiognomy of all three of these guys checks out.
Debate or discussion, whatever you want to call it, he was. And I'm a fan of his content.
Oh, wait, no, sorry, the pastor's cool. The pastor's cool. Never mind. The pastor's fine.
And I thought this was interesting. It says
all I said is it checks out.
Discussion with an LGBT
I didn't say anything bad.
Pastor Benjamin Perry. Okay, this is the timestamp I had pulled up.
He does look like a pastor,
and this is from a few months ago, but I thought it'd be good to highlight it. Go ahead.
Okay, so you mentioned that your standard for love is Jesus. Jesus shows us how to love, and to that I would fundamentally agree. When Jesus did eat with the people that were considered sexual sinners by the religious. He ate with the prostitutes and stuff. And they reacted the way a lot of, judgmental conservatives might. They said, oh, why do you eat with tax collectors and sinners and stuff? And his response for why he was doing that was, it is the sick who need a doctor.
Everything he's saying here is very reasonable. Yep. Jesus ate with sinners. Some religious people, maybe some modern day conservatives, would have issues with the way Jesus affiliated.
Hold on. Why are the subtitles like this? Let me try to fix this real quick. Sorry.
With people who were...
I got to go back a little bit.
Everything he's saying here is very reasonable.
Yep.
Jesus ate with sinners. Some religious people, maybe some modern day conservatives, would have issues with the way Jesus affiliated with people.
I'm doing religious studies at a university, and a guy used a video from Redeemed Zoomer to explain a theological concept. That's incredible. Did you laugh at him? Tell me that you laughed at him. You should have laughed like loudly in his face is what you should have done, because that deserves bullying.
Who were not walking with him in the sense that their lives weren't aligned. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything he's saying here is very, 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 very reasonable. But this takes a turn in the way Reverend Benjamin responds to this very, very reasonable argument.
Okay.
All right.
So he was loving them. He was affirming their humanity, and by loving them, he was trying to help them both physically and spiritually. But he was...
Let me guess where he's going with this. So Jesus was not saying that it's okay to be a prostitute or that it's okay to be a criminal, etc., but that I will take you and help you out of that, right? I don't care. Like, it's good to not do bad things, but it's not bad to do neutral things. And being gay is a neutral thing. You know, the only reason that you would say it's not a neutral thing is because you're a bigot. You're just a religious bigot. That's it.
He's not affirming their sexual sin. He called it sickness.
Ben Perry, he, they.
No, he does the he, they thing.
He does the he, they thing.
Who cares?
That's important context.
If you call,
you're so triggered. Shut the fuck up. You're so triggered.
Sick, a lot of progressives will freak out about that.
Oh, he does the he, they thing. I might just go he, they just to piss you off.
So I see Jesus' example of loving as basically helping
icky.
people's physical and spiritual needs. Their physical needs are, if your neighbor is hungry, give him some food. If he's thirsty, give him a drink. That's what the church has been very good, even if not perfect, at doing throughout all the centuries. It also means tending to their spiritual needs, which means helping them develop a faith that will gradually lead to sanctification, which means the mortification of sin.
What a nerd, man.
So
seriously.
like a good...
Who cares about what this kid has to say? I'm sorry, you're such a nerd. How many lockers have been shoved in, huh? Is anybody keeping track? I would love to know.
I actually think that's a really important thing to bring up, particularly as it relates to queer people, because I actually think it's a pretty violent thing and something that is actually not in people's spiritual well-being to say that this core part of who you are, like this immutable piece of how you are attracted in the world, how you understand your body and your gender, like these core aspects of your humanity are sinful. I think that actually
that made no sense.
No, that made perfect sense. Yeah, no, he said that these core aspects of your humanity do not make you sinful. Yeah. What? That made perfect sense. Am I missing? Okay, wait. Am I missing something? Somebody correct me if I'm missing something.
So Redeemed Zoomer goes, Jesus loved sinners so much that he spent time with them. However, he said that I didn't come for the healthy, I came for the sick. Basically saying people who were sinners were sick and needed a healer. This is beyond reasonable, right? This is almost on like a he gets us, Jesus wash feet vibe.
It really is.
Right? Yeah. He goes to call someone's perversion sinful or sick.
No. He said core attribute, okay? You call it a perversion because you're a freak. You're the real pervert. You pervert
is violence.
You're a pervert because you want to go after people's immutable characteristics, okay? That's perverted. Sorry. You're a religious pervert.
It's violent speech.
A really harmful thing. And there's a reason why, for example, studies have shown that queer youth who grow up in conservative religious contexts have much higher rates than queer youth who grow up in secular contexts.
So now we get the, do you want
I was about to say that.
A live daughter?
But it's true. Disprove it. Here, let's look. Let's take a look, shall we? Religiosity and among LGBTQ youth. 1 in 4 LGBTQ youth reported that religion was, quote, important or, quote, very important to them. However, youth who reported religion as important did not have reduced risk of attempting suicide. Interesting. Rates of endorsing religion as important were comparable across... Okay, so is this the one... Is this what we're studying? Is this what we want? LGBTQ youth who report not hearing their parents use religion to say negative things about being LGBTQ were at significantly reduced risk for attempting suicide in the past year, regardless of whether religion was important to them. Who's this from? Here, references. From the American Journal of Orthopsychiatry. Seems legit to me. It would seem that you're wrong, my friend. You're just wrong.
He did, son.
You want to ignore it.
Like that, like everything goes to
This is why I say they love dead kids. They just like to ignore it.
This like nasty manipulation with regards to this framing. He's specifically talking about LGBT youth, but this is the logic that's used, right? Mm-hmm. It's sad. Go ahead.
I love that the caption here. Let's go back for just a second. He's trying to say LGTV as though it's like fake, like it's all for show, but the caption still picked up LGTB. Get fucked.
Used, right? Mm-hmm. It's sad. Go ahead.
There was a
YouTube caption W.
My church, a child.
Member of your affirming church. Context.
Child.
Yeah.
And he unfortunately deletes themselves.
Recently, who...
Of an affirming church. You're in an affirming environment. Yet they still...
What?
And who...
Unfortunately deletes...
Did I hear that wrong?
There was a member of my church. A child.
Member of your affirming church. Context.
He didn't say that, though. You're inserting words where they don't belong. His church might not be affirming. Based on what I've seen from the video, I don't know if his church is affirming or not. And also, even if it was affirming, there are a million other factors that could be at play there. What if his family wasn't affirming? What if his friends weren't affirming? Or his school? It doesn't have to be the church that's not affirming. Assuming that it's not, by the way. Or that it is, I mean. Because you're saying it is, but I have no reason to believe you. Because you like to ignore statistics about dead kids, so why do I believe you about anything at this point? We're only 4 minutes into this almost.
And he unfortunately deletes themselves.
Recently, who...
Of an affirming church. You're in an affirming environment. Yet they still
Before I came out, I tried to end my life 3 times in 32 years. I'm so sorry to hear that, Luna Rose. I hope you're doing better now. You'd have to be really disconnected from reality to doubt this. I agree. What did they gain from being bigots? Self-confidence, or at least the veneer of self-confidence, because they have no actual confidence. They have to stick their fingers in everybody else's lives and business in order to make themselves feel any type of positive way about themselves. You know, it's projection. They're miserable pieces of shit.
And who I had been speaking with, and part of and a huge part of why that they were, considering and ended up was because they felt that the world would not accept this core part of who they were, that they kept receiving these messages over and over and over again, that this part of who they were was sinful.
But going back to your point.
But he was in an affirming church.
Yeah.
With a pastor saying to him that you're perfect the way you are.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Just because one pastor there is affirming doesn't mean that all of them are. Does not mean all of them are. You're making shit up. And once again, there could be other elements at play. Just because you go to an affirming church doesn't mean every single person there is affirming, and it certainly doesn't mean that your family's affirming, okay? I also went to an affirming church growing up, but my parents, unfortunately, for a long time, not anymore, but for a long time, were not very affirming, okay?
A lot of acceptance.
Yet they still
struggle.
They're getting better.
With that.
That makes no sense.
Yeah. I love my parents.
And when you look at the nations with the most affirming
on.
sentiment towards these communities, there's not a disparity in these stats. That there's still high rates of self-deletion in these countries.
Wow.
Especially amongst the folks who've transitioned.
Yeah, and every single one of those studies finds, every single one, go look, they find that it is because of the social elements in those countries. The social elements drive those kids and those people, I should say, people in general, to suicide.
So it's such a disingenuous framing on his part.
Live in a very conservative part of the country.
Oh yeah, no, he's the one being disingenuous, sure. Sure, buddy, sure.
Repeatedly heard this message that who they were was fundamentally wrong, and they made the choice to die instead of to live into the kind of beauty and light and full life that I see, other trans folks in my congregation who did not have that voice in their ear telling them who you are is sinful have become. People who are now living beautiful Christian lives, who engage in the kind of Christian charity and community building and full relationship and loving of oneself and neighbor that I see Jesus embodying. I think that those kinds of theologies that condemn core parts of who people are actually do spiritual violence to folk and lead people to self-harm. They lead people to self-hatred, and they can lead people to take their own lives. Like that, for me, if you're going to say, okay.
I also just take strong issue with appropriating the word violence.
Yeah.
Why? You're driving people to suicide. That's violence. You are a violent person.
Spiritual violence. Violence is violence. Mm-hmm. It sounds like Benjamin.
And people dying is violence.
Probably has no context of what
driving
real
people
violence
to death is violence.
I'm talking my father and grandfather having to escape.
Violence is when you do the that's violence.
Baku because of the pogroms in the late 80s.
Grow a brain cell.
Borrowing uniforms, police officer uniforms from their RZ friends to get on the train because there's actual violence happening. People were hundreds of people literally getting.
Yeah, emotional violence doesn't exist.
Real violence. I don't think this dude has any idea what real violence is. So I take offense with that. Just the way that word is being.
I take offense to that. I take offense. You're such a nerd. Get out of here.
Appropriated is not okay.
Well, the sick need a doctor.
Appropriated.
Calling who someone is at a core biological level sick, something that none of the conversion therapy programs work. It just doesn't. The
driving
conversion
people to
therapy
death
is not a real
violence.
thing. People who have gone through conversion therapy, even the folks who say, "Oh, I've been successfully cured," the vast majority of them end up relapsing because it's not actually a part of yourself that you can change. And so to say,
it's also true that by pulling others down to their own shitty life is less shitty in comparison, whereas the left wants to increase absolute quality of life. They just want theirs to be better relative to others around them. That's also true. All they want is to have better lives than those around them. They don't really care how miserable they themselves are. And if they did, they would actually look outward and introspect, and also introspect and try to find the real problems in their lives rather than just pointing to other people and saying that it's their fault that you're miserable and wanting to make their lives worse rather than your own better. It's just a self-defeating practice and belief system.
Say that this part of who you are is sick.
He made a claim without being able to substantiate that claim. How do you know?
Hold on.
Relapsing because it's not actually a part of yourself that you can change. And so to say that this part of who you are is sick.
He made a claim without being able to substantiate that claim.
All right, what claim?
How do you know, and who's doing those studies? Because ain't no one.
A systematic review of the prevalence of lifetime experience with conversion practices among sexual and gender minority populations. Methods. We performed literature searches in 8 databases and included studies from all jurisdictions globally conducted after 2000 with a sampling frame of sexual and gender minority people, as well as studies of practitioners seeing SGM patients. We used the Hoy et al. Risk of bias tool for prevalence studies and summarized distribution of estimates using median range. We identified 14 articles that reported prevalence estimates among SGM populations and 2 articles that reported prevalence estimates from studies of mental health practitioners. Prevalence estimates among SGM samples ranged from 2% to 34%, median 8.5. Prevalence estimates were greater in studies conducted in the U.S. median. You guys get the idea. Conclusion, conversion practices. Conversion practices remain prevalent despite denouncement from professional bodies. Social inequities in CP it sounds so bad. Conversion practices. Prevalence signal the need for targeted efforts to protect transgender, indigenous, and racial minority and assigned male at birth subgroups. I mean, this is from an official source, so there you go. All the professional sources are saying, no, actually, the studies that we've done say that conversion therapy doesn't work. So you're just lying at that point. You're just being a piece of shit and lying. You can ignore the studies or say that they're not good, but you don't have any studies to support your side, so was not that hard to find.
Someone doing studies of LGBT folks that came over, gave their life to Jesus, and are now monogamous heterosexual marriages.
I think he's talking about actual conversion therapy camps.
Yeah, and they're miserable.
Versus
probably, but there's all types of people out there that have lived that lifestyle, dabbled in those acts, and are now married and healthy. I know 2 of them.
Healthy how? What's healthy? What? Healthy by what metric? What yardstick are you using? All I care about is that they're happy with their lives. That's all I care.
Personally know 2
and
of them.
They're not hurting anybody else.
Thriving, flourishing families. I know 2 of them, and I know folks behind the scenes. Like I'm talking 2 public people.
Here, does he have a family? Artist, outlier, YouTuber, creative entrepreneur, refugee from Baku, made in U.S. I don't know. I just feel like if you're only happy when you have like kids and shit, that you would want people to know that like you have a family. But from a cursory glance, it doesn't seem like it's that important to him.
And no, people be honest. So you made a claim.
He
but
could have a family. I don't know.
Find anyone that
Also, I would be curious on what the Reverend his explanation of the passage that Redeem Zoomer was referencing would be. Like Redeem Zoomer based his whole point in the Bible, in the Gospels,
yes,
so
in Jesus's actions,
yes,
and this guy based his point in reality, in things that actually happen and that actually matter, like queer kids offing themselves when they are not affirmed, because that's a thing that actually happens, not like your magical stories. I know that I know that you actually believe that your fan fiction happened, but I'm sorry, Pokemon's not real. There's no Pokemon, there's no Harry Potter, there's no Noah, and there's no Queen of England. Okay, I'm sorry, they're all fictional.
And the Reverend then goes on to say, well, that's violence and that's bad, right, and that's who they really are, right, and has no Bible really for it,
right?
So it's like, we're not arguing the same thing.
Right. So I don't remember if he pushes him on this. I don't give a shit. Let's see.
If your Bible doesn't like gay people, then your Bible, all right? Your Bible. I'll use it as a fleshlight, all right? That's what I think about it.
Actually damaging in the same way that withholding food would be damaging to somebody's body.
Right. Wow. So do you think it's important to affirm people's lived experiences? Because you share your lived experience. You share lived experience of many queer folks who've felt better after being affirmed. So is it important to affirm people's lived experiences?
I think that that we know in part what is true and godly by like the fruits of the theology.
He's trying to get a gotcha here of some kind. I can feel it coming.
So I think that when you see theologies that affirm,
it's important to affirm people's lived experiences as long as they're not hurting anybody else. You don't affirm a pedophile, okay? Because being a pedophile hurts other people. So you don't affirm that. You can't.
Queer people leading to queer people who live joyful, healthy, happy lives, ones where they're able to find partners, ones where they're able to, start families, ones where they're able to live joyfully and abundantly in themselves and contribute to their communities. And you look at the fruits of theologies that are not queer affirming that so often lead to self-harm, to self-loathing, to self-hatred. Like those fruits for me are pretty clear indications of which of those theologies are from God and which ones are not.
You have no idea which theologies lead to the deletion of people simply because correlation is not causation. This is a very...
Oh, yeah. Who's to say why all these kids in religious families are offing themselves? The studies, we just ignore those, throw those out. The Bible, that's my only science journal. It's the New Testament, baby.
Very basic breakdown of
only science journal I need.
Statistics and numbers work. Just because you find people a part of certain theologies and they delete themselves, that doesn't mean that the theology is the reason for them deleting themselves. There's all kinds of factors for why somebody would delete themselves.
I've had many conversations with people whose lived experience is that they struggled with various desires like same-sex attraction, and they found freedom from that in Jesus, and they went on long-term to live lives where they no longer struggled with that. They were no longer tempted with that. So of course I know the classic,
they say they're not, because if they don't say that, then they're just going to keep getting shit on by people around them. All right, maybe some of them do have a come to Jesus moment. I'm sure it's happened. Okay, I'm sure it's once in a while, once in a blue moon, it happens. But the thing is, being gay doesn't hurt anybody. Okay, so who cares? Off.
Is that's not real. They're just suppressing it. They're going to relapse. But I think that's denying the lived experiences of a lot of people who have powerful testimonies of how Jesus freed them from that. Of course, it doesn't always work.
They can have their experience. Off. Take your experience and off with it. Okay? Good for you. Don't go pushing that onto other people. That's where I have a problem. Shut up.
A lot of things people would
like. Oh, I did it, so you have to do it.
They failed to do so.
Off. Kiss my ass.
Checkmate. You walked right into that trap.
Yeah, so you need to affirm
he's
lived
cooking.
experience.
Well, why can't we affirm their lived experience?
They're so cool with the kids, always cooking.
Right?
That was great.
A lot of people, for certain addictions,
how do you do, fellow kids? Are you be cooking now?
And that doesn't mean the addiction is a fundamental
that is
part
like
of who
epic.
they are, though.
That's right.
So what would you say about the lived experiences of those who really have been freed by Jesus from things like same-sex attraction?
This man, the young Dr. Michael Brown in training on the debate stage.
Hey,
what did he say? One sec.
They keep relapsing. And that doesn't mean the addiction is a fundamental part.
Well, why can't we affirm their lived experience? Right?
That was great.
A lot of people, for certain addictions, they struggle to manage those and they keep relapsing. And that doesn't mean the addiction is a fundamental part of who they are, though.
That's right.
So,
the addiction actually is like congenital, like it can be like a predisposition to addiction. And if you talk to addicts, which I have because I've worked with them, all right, I'm a former addiction nurse, mind you, there are people who say the addiction stays with you forever. It does become a fundamental part of who you are, okay? But you fight it. Because you hurt yourself with an addiction, okay? It's a disease. It's just like cancer, all right? It becomes a fundamental part of who you are, even if you have it for it becomes a part of you. That's part of your lived experience, okay? What I'm saying is the addictive element of you does not go away. It doesn't. And that's why you go clean. That's why you just simply don't drink alcohol anymore or do crack, okay? Because if you do it a little bit, you're going to relapse and do it a whole lot and potentially kill yourself. You know, it does become a part of your identity, a core part.
So what would you say about the lived experiences of those who really have been freed by Jesus from things like same-sex attraction?
This man,
what do I say? Good for you. Off.
Young Dr. Michael Brown in training on the debate stage.
Hey, shout out to Redeemed Zoomer, bro.
Just setting it up.
If he's so cool, hey, I'm big enough now. Bless God Studios. I challenge you to a debate. I would love to get on the debate stage with you. Come on, let's see it. Or Redeemed Zoomer. It, okay? Hey, he does debates. You know, I mean, he's up here doing a debate. I'd love to talk to Redeemed Zoomer. Let's take a look. Hi there. I saw you recently do a debate against... I'll just say I saw you recently do a debate and was wondering if you'd be interested in having a discussion with me. I'm a progressive YouTuber and came across your content a few months ago, and I'd love to discuss your views on homosexuality and why you you think it's bad. I typically go do live streams on Tuesdays and Fridays, and would, if you're fine with going live, or we can simply record it. Let me know if you're interested.
Savage,
and
bro.
He's just sitting there like all stoic.
Yeah.
Just waiting for this guy to finish his whole dissertation on how
looking like he's ready to get shoved into a locker. Am I right, fellas?
Words are violence, and we need to affirm people's lived experience just to drop bombs. Amazing.
I would say that, folks who, first of all, I never want to I'm never going to look at somebody's lived experience and be like, if people are living happy, joyful lives, great.
I didn't link my YouTube. Hold on.
And I'm not saying that in a flipped way or a sarcastic way, I really am. Wow. That being said, I think that if you are able to say, okay, saying that folks who, first of all, I never want to I'm never going to look at somebody's lived experience and be like, if people are living happy, joyful lives, great. I'm super, super happy for them.
Great.
And like,
yeah,
I'm not
that's
saying
perfect.
that in like a flipped way or like a sarcastic way, like I really am.
Wow.
That being said, I think that if you are able to say, okay, you know what, I've been cured of these, like I think that at a fundamental level, like you're probably, you know, bisexual or whatever word you want to use for it. Like if you can really live in like a happy, joyful sexual relationship with a member of like the opposite sex or opposite gender, like you're probably not, you know, gay, capital G, in the sense that like I have, you know, lots of friends who are, you know, like I'm.
It doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter. Okay, you're happy. Great. I don't care what you call yourself. Who cares? Other people can still be gay.
Spy, you know, sexually.
That was a trap answer, or a trap question. He fell into the trap, unfortunately. The answer is it doesn't matter.
Pulsed by people of the opposite gender.
I think he fell into the trap.
You're probably bi. This man is given the script to every freaking teenage girl in public school.
Well, what if someone goes, yeah, seriously. What if someone goes, no, man, I wasn't. I
was repulsed by women, and now I love women.
And now I love women.
I love women.
Right? Like, what if that's the thing? So anyway, I want to shout out Redeem Zoomer.
By the way, I do accept that sexuality can change over your lifetime and under certain conditions. I do accept that. But for one thing, it doesn't matter, all right? And for another thing, that you can't predict that. There's no way to predict that. There's no way to control that. It just happens sometimes, okay? I used to think that I was completely straight. Then I found out there are some dudes that I'm into, okay? Most of them look like chicks, but they're dudes nonetheless, okay? So it can change over time, and you can come to understand yourself better in some ways, or just differently, not necessarily better, okay? But ultimately, the point is, it doesn't matter. It's not hurting anybody. So unless you can prove to me that it's hurting people, I don't give a shit.
We're working on getting him on the channel in the summertime. I think he's going to come out here. He's been crushing it. Yeah, the words of
Let's see if I can get him on the
channel
channel first.
Manipulative. And here's the thing: when you walk through the conclusions of someone's theology, just like I did with my buddy Tim from the New Evangelicals, I don't dislike these people. I think they make for great conversations, and I actually really enjoy hanging out with Tim. But when you walk them through every single issue under the sun, you will
resident lesbian with a boyfriend. Nice.
Come to the realization that they take the contrarian position to what most Christians hold to historically. The issues of the unborn, they talked about that in this conversation, the issue of LGBTQ, the issue of transformers, the issue of drugs, the issue of promiscuity.
You're such a nerd. Stop saying LGBTQ. It's such nerd shit.
The LGBTQ. They land on the contrarian side of all of these issues from Orthodox Christian perspectives. And, you know, anyway.
That's like some Donald Trump shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's such liberal bullshit. Donald Trump. I'm saying that to own the Republicans. You're just doing the same thing, but the opposite. Like, from the opposite side. Okay, that's what you're doing. You're liberal.
That's a bummer. So if you want to see me and Tim from the New Evangelicals have this conversation, you can check that out here. All right. There's a lot of hope.
Yeah, no thanks. Well, that was a thing. Actually, I kind of want to watch his outro.
In Jesus' words found in John 5:24, he tells us, very truly
Please sell something in this. That would be so funny. He's probably not going to, but it would be so funny if he were shilling so like donate to us on Patreon, please.
Tell you, whoever hears my words and believes him who sent me has eternal life and will not be judged, but has crossed over from death to life. And that is the latest theme of our newest collection that's coming out next week. So be on the lookout for the Death to Life collection. Available only Monday
shilling a product.
Sunday next week. Go to blessgod.shop.
That's
sign
amazing.
up on the email list so you don't miss the drop.
I love the Bible and God so much that I'm going to sell my shit with his writing on it. That's awesome. Oh, I can't believe I called that. That's so funny. Oh, what a slimy piece of shit you are. Oh my God. That was hilarious. Whoever recommended that, Roman of Omen, thank you very much. That was good content. Delicious. Delicious. We slurped that right up. Delicious content, boys and girls and MBs. Absolutely delicious. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy what I do, I really appreciate any financial help that I can get. Go to youtube.com/AlecGunterTTV/join. You got some awesome benefits, such as seeing early videos, awesome emotes that you can use in the comments of YouTube videos, and a sweet badge next to your name. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd really appreciate if you join. It is cheaper than the cost of a blowjob from your mom. So with all that being said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.